An important practice in raising children is reading to them. We read stories to them to spark imagination. We read to tell them about people in faraway places that display the beauty and variety of the world we live in. And we read to them about things that will be important to them as they grow up. And with Bitcoin becoming more and more a part of smart asset management, it's important that we introduce Bitcoin to our kids as well. My guests today have created a children's book, Bitcoin for Kiddos, that introduces kids to Bitcoin. I hope you'll stick around and join us as we talk about their Bitcoin story and how the book came to be. And stick around to the end of this episode to find out how to get 15% off of your copy of Bitcoin for Kiddos. I'm Nate Martin, and this is the Bitcoin Effect. Today on the Bitcoin Effect, we have Chris and Frieda Bobay, who are the author and the illustrator of Bitcoin for Kiddos, a new book that is intended to read to your children about Bitcoin. Chris and Frieda, thanks for joining me. I appreciate that.
Thank you for having us.
Glad to. Now, Chris, I'll ask you first. What was your path into Bitcoin, and how did you trip into the rabbit hole yourself?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, it's kind of to make a short story, if you will. It kind of started back in early 2000. Growing up, both my parents were entrepreneurs. I always saw how the wealthy people were, in a sense, taking their money and sending it out, and the money always came back with more money. Wow, that's a fine concept. I kind of want to learn how to do that. So I went to college. I was getting my degree. And one night I was having a conversation with my dad, and it was early 2000s, and I was thinking about something that was happening with China, and maybe it was when they were entering into the trade negotiations with the World Trade Organization, and there was a lot of conflict with the US, China, and whatnot, and we got talking about money. And I started thinking, if the world was ever going to get along and we were all going to kind of come together, one thing I thought we needed a common ground. And I couldn't figure out what it was until I was thinking, well, it's probably the money. So if we could get the world on one currency, it might help bring the world in a way that nothing else could. Conversation kind of went away, and then I was driving in my car in 2013, and I was listening to CNBC, and the talking heads were talking about Bitcoin, and it was going up to $300, and that was when Silk Road was big in the news, and they were talking about it being a scam and it being for money laundering, and only criminals used it. And that I believed, to be honest with you. And I kind of wrote it off. I was like, what is digital money? That'll never work. And then in 2017, a friend of mine, we were on a hike shortly before our first kid was born. And he's like, hey, have you heard of this Bitcoin? And I probably spent the first 40 minutes of that hike talking out of an got into this conversation, and I respected his opinion. And I myself, let me go back and take a look at this. So I did a couple Googles, and then I read the paper, and I was like, oh my God, is the money I was talking from the conversation with my dad all those years ago. I was like, maybe this is something. And then at the time, Coinbase was giving like $100. They were going to give you $10 back. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, well, let me just buy $100 of Bitcoin, get the $10, and what to do with it. And so I put in the $100. I bought the Bitcoin and the Bitcoin, got the $10, and that was when Bitcoin was about 1,800. Mm-hmm. And then I noticed it go to 1,900 and go to 2,000, and I'm like, I'm going to put my $110 back into this thing, and just started researching it and studying it, and the into 100, and now it's well over 1,000. And I got friends asking me that the big but I want to get them off the exchanges for security. And basically, I don't deal with any of those coins. You're on your own. About Bitcoin, I'm not going to talk about all. I'm not going to help you with that because that was not my advice. Mm-hmm. So, in a nutshell, that's kind of how it all played out.
Okay. Now, Frieda, how long have you been married, first of all, just to kind of give me some background as far as how this, this relationship works and how Bitcoin kind of entered into this. So how long have you been married?
It'll be 6
Okay, so you watched your husband kind of go from no, I don't want anything to do with this, to going on a hike and then coming in and coming back and saying, we need to actually dig into this Bitcoin thing. What was your entrance into this, and how did that kind of change the conversations in your household?
Yeah. So first of all, we've known each other since we were 16. So, we've been through life together. I was actually on that hike. So, those are a friend of mine too, but I didn't get involved in the conversation. And like, Chris has always been dabbing in like quick money. Let me just put it that way. Right. That was, come on. When you were like in your 20s, you were always just like, where's the quick money? Right. I'm going to be a millionaire by I'm 30. And so, when he was like starting with Bitcoin, like I just remember, like, for example, we have this rule at our house now that we have 2 kids, that we all eat at the dinner table together. So like dinner is very sacred for me. And there was one night where like, and we don't have any phones at the table either, right? So there's one night where Chris is like on his phone and he's like, honey, I have to get up. Something is happening with Bitcoin. It's dropping.
I gotta buy more.
Right? That was when the big drop happened, right? And so like up until that point, I was just like, what the heck? Like I mixed together all the digital currencies. I did not understand that there was a difference in Bitcoin. I had not researched any of them, to be honest with you. And I just thought it was so volatile. I actually work, I have a product management background. So I work with technology and I just understand, how things can break very easily. And so, but I looked into it more actually after we were on a road trip and we listened to the Orange Pill podcast for a couple of episodes. And I think the one thing that Stacy really tied together for me was, that essentially most of the world, or a lot of the world, is unbanked, and that now there's an opening for those people to actually be able to earn an income. And so that, like, I think the human aspect of that's what really got me, where I was just like, okay, well, is it really as solid? And I had dug more into like, what is money? Because I'm not from a financial background. So, like understanding that, no more can be made, the 21 million, that was a big deal for me. Understanding, that even forks off Bitcoin, we're kind of dabbling in just, what essentially our government is doing now, print more. And that, that Bitcoin is sound money. So I think as soon as that clicked, I turned to Chris and I was like, why didn't you put in more money? Why are you waiting? If you are thinking this is solid and it's solid and you've been trying to explain it to me, like, why are you holding back? So then I pretty much, I took out a couple of savings accounts and I was just like, this is it. We're putting it, right? And so, and I've always been of the mindset, like, I don't, I'm not into anything like casino play. So there's no day trading or anything like that. This is really something where I feel this is, it's going to be the future. I do really feel that in the environment that I know I've just started dabbling, for example, in Twitter and, but I've listened to a lot of podcasts before that. And it just, the Bitcoiners that are truly there to like carry the message, I just feel like there's so much heart in it, and there's really like this vision for a better community. And obviously I'm concerned about, in this environment, especially our kids, right? So I like the idea of like the Bitcoin citadel. I like the idea of, growing our own food and going back to the source and decentralizing, like all of that really thrives with me. So, yeah.
Cool. You talk about your kids, and that'll segue right into what we really wanted to talk about today, which is the book, which is called Bitcoin for Kiddos. Let me pull that up on screen so that folks can see the top of your website. There it is. And Bitcoin for Kiddos. You sent me a copy. I had a chance to look that over and had a chance to read it to my grandkids, and it's something to be read to the kids. When I take a look at some of the concepts, obviously it's things it's gonna generate some questions. And now, Chris, you're the one who wrote the book, yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Frieda, she suckered me into writing the book, if you will.
How's that work?
About a year ago, she said, Chris, you're really good at writing stories. You're always into this Bitcoin thing. You should write a book for our kids about money and Bitcoin. And I was like, that's never going to work. I don't have any ideas on how to do that. Bitcoin is such a big rabbit hole. There's so many different aspects of it, from the sound money principles to the central bank policies to government stimulus to it all. I was like, I have no idea what to do in this. And so it just kind of sat there in the back of my mind for about a year. And then she goes, look, if you write the story, I'll draw the pictures. Frieda is an amazing artist. She studied it in school. We have artwork all around our house from it. It brings back, incredible, great memories. And I was like, okay, fine. So one night I was sitting down in front of my computer. We were both on our computers on the sofa watching TV. And this idea popped into my head, Bitcoin is something quite rare. And I was like, oh, and that's interesting. That rhymes. And so I opened up a word pad and I just wrote it down. And then it just started coming out. And before I knew it, an hour and a half later, there it was. And I read it to Frieda, and she was like, "Oh my God, that's really good." Mm-hmm. And then I read it to my dad, who will never ever have anything to do with Bitcoin, no matter how many conversations I have with him, because the Wall Street Journal hasn't told him to buy it yet. And he goes, "Oh my God, that's a really good story, Chris. Don't read that to anybody until you secure it." And I went, "Huh. That's interesting," because when you write a story, you never really know if other people feel the same way about something you do. So Frieda was like, let's do it. So I was like, okay, let me break it all out into pages, and then you do the pictures. So she goes, okay. So I break it all out, and she reads the story, and she goes, I have no idea what to draw on this. So I was like, okay, great. So then I had to sketch out some ideas on each page, and then she just took those ideas and drew them all out. And then we spent about 6 weeks after the kids were in bed from 8 till midnight every night, just drawing it all out and painting it and talking about it and working through the process.
What I like about the illustrations that are there with the story, this is one thing that I noticed, is that the drawings are relatable. They're relatable to somebody who's 6, 7, 8 years old, to say, I could draw something like that, and that might actually make the child want to draw something from that book, because it's not high art. It's not something that can't be generated by an elementary student. And I think that that's something that was really important as far as my engagement and my grandkids' engagement was concerned, because it's something that they can go, that's something that I would see on the wall at my school. And so, Frieda, kudos to you for that, because I think that you did a great job with those. I think that the rhyming in there, you took a lot of, Chris, you took a lot of different concepts and threw them together in rhyme in such a fashion that's like, again, kudos to you, because I could never have come up with the rhyming for that. The banter is actually engaging as well, so that kids of any age that's sitting on parents or grandparents' lap as they're listening to the story can actually dig into the book with the pictures as well. I think that it's a great gift for anybody who is interested in introducing Bitcoin to their family, not just the kids, but also to the adults. And I think that that's important. In fact, I'll just kind of toot your horn. At the back of the book, you've got a number of different definitions of some different concepts within Bitcoin, be it cold storage or mining, all of those things that are in there. You really did a rather complete job for a children's book that's introducing a concept such as Bitcoin. So I would highly recommend it to anybody that is considering getting, and really for the price, it's a great stocking stuffer, because you can roll it right up and put it in there if you want to. So great job with that. How can people get in touch with you or order the book? How can they do that?
Do you want to? Well, basically, you can go to our Twitter page, is where we have the most dialogue with everybody, which is at Bitcoin for Kid with 2 Ds and then the number 1. Or you can go to our website, bitcoinforkiddos.com, and contact us by email through there.
Or
sounds good. Yep. In fact, I noticed that you actually had I saw the contact information. I didn't see that you had an order page on that. Is it just by email then, that how you're taking care of that?
No, there's just when you go to the homepage, if you just scroll down just below the fold, there will be the book, and you can just buy from there.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Add to cart, buy it now. There you go. You can do that. In fact, if you want to buy a book and get additional discount, you can use the discount code EFFECT, and you'll get some additional savings off your purchase of one copy of Bitcoin for Kiddos. Frieda and Chris, it has been great to talk with you to kind of get some of the background of your story of Bitcoin and how this Bitcoin for Kiddos took place an hour and a half in front of your computer, and suddenly you have a book that, like I said, I think is rather engaging and is a great gift for parents to read to their kids to introduce them to what is the sound money system. Chris and Frieda Bobay, thank you very much for joining me here on the Bitcoin Effect, and I hope that you enjoy your upcoming holiday season.
Thank you, Nate.
Thanks,
Thank
Nate.
you so much for having us.
If you'd like to purchase a copy of Bitcoin for Kiddos, you can go to bitcoinforkiddos.com, scroll down to the order page, and make sure to use the discount code EFFECT for 15% off of your purchase. Hey, if you've enjoyed this content, well, you know what to do. Thanks for joining me. I'll look forward to seeing you again here on the Bitcoin Effect.